President Bush announcing a $13 billion rescue plan for America's ailing auto industry. The money from the $700 billion Wall Street bailout fund now available as federal loans to car makers, and they're not the only ones who are grateful. And joining us now, the governor of Michigan, Jennifer Granholm. Governor, thanks very much for coming in.
You bet, Wolf. Thanks for having me on.
Did you ever think you'd be saying, thank you, Mr. President, for saving two of the three big automakers in the United States?
No, I never did. You know, I have, to be candid with you, I'm a Democrat, and I have been pretty tough on President Bush and his ability to help the auto industry or the manufacturing industry in this country. But today, we are all in Michigan, and frankly, the 3 million workers across the country whose jobs are saved, at least temporarily. We are saying thank you to President Bush for stepping in and doing what Congress could not, would not do last week.
He really saved the auto workers. He saved the auto industry, at least the U.S. auto industry, didn't he?
He did, and what he's done is given them a lifeline to help lead the country out of this recession. We know that this industry can produce these green, lean, efficient vehicles, but they need to make the strategic and the structural changes that they've been in the middle of if it weren't for this darn credit crunch and financial meltdown. So they are positioned now to help do that, to produce the electric vehicles, to lead the nation in creating jobs in ways that will reduce our dependence on foreign oil. That's very exciting, and I think the Obama administration is going to be a partner in it. And
to a certain degree, he punted to the Obama administration. The auto companies now have till March 31st to come up with a strategy. One important part would be the union workers, the UAW workers, their salaries and benefits being in line with the non-union workers at Toyota plants in the South or elsewhere. Is that realistic based on what you know?
Well, first of all, there's such a misunderstanding out there. Last year, the UAW entered into a contract which reduced the wages from $28 an hour to $14 an hour. That's exactly for new workers.
That's for new workers.
That's for new workers, right? And that's exactly on par.
But most of the workers are older workers.
Many of them are, and so the older workers make about $28 an hour, and by the way, the Toyota plant in Georgetown, Kentucky also makes $30 an hour. So there is a real question about what the UAW is going to do going forward. They recognize they've got more at stake in this than anybody else in terms of saving jobs, so they recognize they're going to have to come up and sacrifice in the same way that the executives of the industry are going to have to sacrifice, the suppliers, the dealers. Everyone is going to have to do what they can to ensure that this industry survives. Everyone knows it, and I think they will.
Because if you add in what's called all the legacy and the benefits and everything else, supposedly, and correct me if you think these statistics are wrong, the union workers make, get about $70 per hour compared to maybe $30 or $40 an hour for the Toyota non-union workers.
That is total bunk, Wolf. I mean, since when are you getting paid for what people are getting pensions for in your company? I mean, it's so wrong to assign the pension costs of all of the people who've ever worked at the auto company to me, the worker who's working there now. That's not the way you assign wages. That's not how people determine their hourly wage. You might roll in your own benefits and your own hourly rate, but to say that you're responsible or that you have to bear the burden of everybody who's ever worked there for 100 years this industry's been around, that has been a talking point that the Republicans have put out that is an utter falsehood. The bottom line is they do have more legacy costs because they've been around a lot longer than the foreign transplants. We have to deal with that and figure out as a nation how we're going to provide health care in this country to make our industries, not just the auto industry, but all industries, competitive with the industries of other nations when those other nations provide health care. But we're in a position to do that now. We have an incoming administration that's committed to a green automotive industry and an industry that now has a lifeline to take us there.
There was a really tough piece on Forbes going after you by name. And I'm going to read a little graph from there. The article was entitled, "Here's What's Un-American, Governor Granholm." And this is what it says. Throughout the financial crisis, Governor Granholm predictably has pointed her finger away from the culprits. She has defended the automobile companies, saying their financial situation is not their fault. She neglects to explain how it is that other companies are currently manufacturing cars in other U.S. states and actually turning a profit. You want to respond to that criticism?
Yeah, you want to ask those guys right now if they're turning a profit. Toyota had to stop production, stop their plant being built in Mississippi. They've all lost customers over this financial meltdown because it is the financial institutions that are not releasing funds. They get $700 billion in a bailout, and they're sitting on the money. What good is that to stimulate the economic growth when people can't buy cars because they don't have access to credit? The auto industry made mistakes in the past. I don't apologize for that. But they have been in the middle of a restructuring that leads us to the plug-in electric hybrid vehicle, to exactly where people want to go. The unions have made enormous concessions, and they're going to make more, as the rest of the industry. But to say that the auto industry is in the same position as the financial industry, and when the financial industry is the one that caused this financial meltdown, the mortgage industry caused this meltdown, but to blame the auto industry for that, that's not fair. It's the biggest consumer device, consumer product that you buy. People should be able to have access to credit to buy it. Everyone is hurting from this. That's the bottom line.
And if you think of the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been spent on bailing out the financial sector, that 14 or 15 or 16 billion dollars for the auto industry is rather modest. Unfortunately,
and
Governor.
It's a loan.
Yeah. And the taxpayers, you and I, we're all hoping that loan will be repaid. That would be good for the taxpayers. It would certainly be good for all the workers in Michigan as well. You got your hands full, Governor. Thanks. Good luck.
You bet. Thanks, Wolf. Yep.
Bombshell accusations coming out of North Korea right now. It's accusing South Korea of plotting to assassinate its leader.